our brakes are out of our way is what we're looking at here. We're going to take this cotter pin out. Take that keeper off there. You're going to have this big nut here, which, if I remember correctly, is a 35 millimeter. Oh, 36 millimeter. If you don't have air tools like I do, I suggest before you take the tire off to get this loose, use a breaker bar. But we got air power, so we're gonna spin it right up. Okay. That little washer, sometimes it's bare to get off. You just spin it, comes right out. Alright, what we're looking at here, we got 3 bolts holding this hub on. If we turn our steering a little bit, we can access the back here. Now you can either get, it's a 13 millimeter 12-point socket. So you can either get this actual socket that fits on it, or I don't have that special socket. I should. I keep meaning to buy one, but I don't. You could just use a 12-point wrench. There usually isn't much holding them on. Take a 12-point wrench, big hammer, and just crack them loose. Kind of a trail fix way to do it, but it works. Okay, now that we've gotten that out, we're going to leave this bolt in a few threads. Take the rest of them out, they don't matter. We're going to take just a regular old 12-point chrome socket, preferably one you don't care about. And we're going to stick it on there. And this is, what I'm going to show you here is, I've seen too many guys hit these things with the biggest hammer they can find to get them off. And then now you got to end up replacing the hub because you bend the face, whatever else. And plus it's aggravating. Sometimes they just really don't want to come out. They're rusted really, really bad. This one doesn't look like it's going to want to come out either. So unless you know you've had it apart and it's anti-seize and comes out okay. This one doesn't look like it's been apart in a long time. So we're going to do this little trick here. We're going to put that socket on there. We're going to turn this so we got, you're going to have to kind of adjust the bolt. A couple threads in, a couple threads out, just so that that socket is braced up against the inside of the shaft there. And what we're going to do is start the truck off. Excuse the old carbureted warm-up here, but we're going to just use the steering wheel. Force that in there. Couldn't be any simpler. Okay, now that you have everything apart, this shaft just slides right out. And as you can see, that's pretty gnarly. So let's go on into the workshop and I'll show you how to change that. Trying to get the best angles I can for you. A lot of people say these are really hard to do. You need to press, you need to heat, all this stuff. Don't ever heat this. Don't ever press it. You're just going to do more damage than good. I'm going to show you a real simple, easy way to get an old, busted piece of junk like this change out real simple. The first thing you want to do, and I can never stress enough, when you have a Jeep, just buy this stuff by the case, is spray it up with PB Blaster. Just soak everything right in there. You want to get as much of this in there as you can. Go crazy with it, because you got to get all that loosened up. Alright, see, hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. In here you have little snap rings that have to come off. I use a real small punch just to get behind the ears. It's just a compression snap. There's no tabs on it or anything like a regular snap ring. You just get it in there. This thing is probably going to break. They always break. We can fix that later with zip ties. But you want to get in here and just drive them out. They're going to snap. They always break. Don't worry about it. We got new ones with the new U-joints. But you got to get every piece of them out, or you won't be able to drive these bearings out, or U-joints out. If you don't get every piece out, you're going to end up bending ears. And that's pretty common. People do that a lot with these because they think, oh, well, the rest will just press out. No. They're actually very strong. If you have to flip it over in the vise or whatever to get the other side. There's always going to be a short side on these, so it's pretty easy to see it. Just get in there and just break them clips out. We're not worried about damaging any of this. These caps, these rings, anything. That's all going in the garbage. We want to make sure that this shaft and this stub shaft is not damaged. That's the most important thing. Oh, that one came off in one piece. Surprising. Okay. Now that you got the clips out on both sides, inspect it real good, make sure they're completely out, which they seem to be. What we're going to do, spray it again. Can't use, like I said, can't stress it enough. Just use a lot of this stuff. It's magic. Okay, what we're going to do is place it in the vise. We want to make sure that this ring here is in a pretty good spot where we're not going to smash it up. So that has to sit inside the hub. We're just going to lay this a little loose like this, so you can just lay it in like that. And you just have this. You want to basically just bridge this onto here. And real simple, what we're going to do, just make sure that this doesn't get crushed. Just hold that on there like that and kind of hold it even. See this big shoulder right here? We're just going to start wailing on that. Doesn't take much. A cap pops right up. Take that one off, throw it away. And just flip it upside down, do the same thing. Yeah, you're going to lose all the needles. Who cares? They're junk. Do the same thing on the other side. Usually only takes a couple hits. They come right out. Pull that cap away. And then once you got both caps out, a little finagle in there, that comes right off. You can see this little plastic bearing retainer. We got to get that out of there. That's garbage. But you should have a bare shaft now. Just put that aside. We're going to keep working on this part here. Same thing with this. We're going to just clamp it in the vise and get our retainers out. Okay. Now that we got this all lubed up, I put it in the vise like this so that these are bridged across here, but it's still kind of in there pretty tight, so it's not going to fall out on me. I don't have to hold it. If you got somebody to help you, they can hold this side, whatever, makes it a little easier. But we want to hit right in here without hitting this piece. As you can see, somebody probably already hit that a little bit last time they were changed. It's, as long as it's not completely mangled, it's not too bad. It's not going to hurt anything. I got this big hammer, which is good for the weight, but can't get the size in there, so we're going to use a little punch here just to help get in there a little better. And same thing, take your cap off. Okay, so this one is especially stubborn. As you can see, it was pretty bad. We call out the big guns and get a pair of vice grips. We're going to do the same thing on this side. Pretty much just repeat process for both sides. Stick that in there. Tuck this out. Yeah, by the way, have fun cleaning up all the needles, because that happens every time. Alright, now you want to take and clean this out as best you can. You want to see nice smooth surfaces in there. If there's any burrs or nicks or anything in there, you're going to have to take them out before you put it back together. If you did it the way I showed you to do it, you shouldn't have anything in there unless, like pretty much every other Jeep on the planet, somebody else who doesn't have a clue what they're doing has already gotten their hands on it. So you may run into some issues. So be forewarned. Alright, so now you should have two shafts with no joint in them. Now the next step, what we want to do is, if you look right in here, this surface where that little clip rides, it's all rusted and built up. We want to clean that up good. Okay, we're just going to take a file and just get all that crud that's built up off and file it flat. Nice clean edges on it. You'll see where there's an edge already from where it was cast. You want to get it nice and flat to that edge. This will make installation much easier. I've seen lots of guys change shafts where they put it together and they go, I can't get these stupid snap rings in. Oh well, throw them in the garbage. And it's the same guy that you're pulling 20 miles out of a trail because his U-joint blew apart because he thought those snap rings weren't important. They're very important. See, what you don't understand is when this shaft is turning, centrifugal force pushes those caps out. That clip isn't on there. It's going to come out. Maybe not now, maybe not tomorrow, but it's coming out. Get those nice and flat. That looks pretty good. Okay, once you have everything cleaned up and ready to go, take your new U-joint. Just take the caps off. You don't need them right now. You're going to slide it in like that. Then you're going to take your new caps and just start it in as far as it'll go by hand, and then place the U-joint into it like that. And then you're going to take in your vise. Just start working it in. You don't have to push much pressure on it. Just a little bit to get it started. When it's square, you'll feel it go in nice and easy. You have to wiggle it around sometimes because these aren't exactly a square shaft. You can see I'm going a little bit, backing off because I'm feeling it to see if it's going to go in easy or not. Just rock the cap around until you find out where it's going to go in straight. This one is being a pain. Just go little by little. No rush. There it goes. You'll feel it when it starts to go through. It'll just get suddenly easier. Okay. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. Just back on the clamp. Same thing here. Starter cap. Slide this over until it meets. Now we want to kind of keep this centered as possible. You don't want to pull it all the way out because that's what's holding your needles in place. So keep that about centered. And same thing. start working your cap in. See how that one just squared right up and went right in, so that's good. That's what we want to see. And there we go. Alright, once you get it in far enough and you get your clips on, you start at one end and just slide it over, and it should just click right in. Now you're going to take your caps, put them back on, and we're going to do what you call seating the cap. We're going to, just like when we removed it, you're going to set it like this. Just give it a tap or two. Careful your caps don't fall off. It'll kind of feel a little soft and then harden up when you hit the end. That's when you know this is seated all the way up. And now we got a little room in the U-joint. So what we're going to do now is take these back off. Now that we know that cap is seated all the way, you can just nudge this one down the rest of the way. Okay. And put it back in here to hold it. And put our other clip in. Okay, again, once everything's together, we're going to seat our caps one more time. Then make sure that they're spread as far as they can be and that the joint can move freely. If the cap pops back out, you didn't get your clip in all the way. So it should have some resistance, but it shouldn't be too tight to move. You should be able to move it by hand, but it should be fairly tight. Alright, once you got all your clips in, you're going to go ahead and again seat the caps. On this side, you can do that pretty easily. Just clamp that in here. Take your punch again and just give a couple taps on either side. That's your U-joint. All you got to do now is throw a little bit of grease in there. I use this it's molybdenum grease. I think I'm saying that right. It's a waterproof grease. If you take your Jeep through any kind of mud holes, this is a must-have. Regular U-joint / wheel bearing grease will just get all full of water and mud and crud, and they won't last long. Use this stuff, drives the water out. We gotta, typically the first initial greasing, you want to put a lot in there. Make sure it gets to all the joints. It'll come squeezing out of most of them. And then you just clean up the excess. And that's it. Now what I'm going to address here is that sometimes it happens while you're working on it, sometimes it happens while you're pulling it out, whatever the case may be. You want to get this little... Now if you have an updated style bearing that doesn't have the cup in the back, it's just a flat bearing, you could actually knock that right off and throw it away. You don't even need it. If you're using the older style bearings, the Timken style, I actually prefer them because it's got a double seal. It's not just an open seal in the back. I prefer them, especially going in deep water and stuff. It has this little flange on here that kind of just acts as a double barrier, but you got to make sure this is flat. Any little dings you might have put in it, you're going to have to get them out. Don't try to knock this off and then put it back on when you're done, because it's a press fit, and once you knock it off, it's not going back on. So, easiest thing to do is just, when you're done, just kind of straighten it out. No harm, no foul. It's really mostly just a dirt shield. Okay, and then if you remember, we had this little guy, which is also a dirt shield to keep mud out of the axle tube. And you can see there's a little groove in the shaft here where it goes. There's these little plastic clips that hold them together. They break, they fall apart. I'll show you a quick way to put this on and to fix it. Okay, so the way we're going to fix this little thing, we're just going to drill these little tabs out that are broken. The idea is you want to have break this little extra bit off that's on here. Don't really need it. You want to have 2 holes on either side like that. Do the same thing on this one. Use the old mark as a guide. Whatever you gotta do. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just get it close. And you put the 2 halves together. And what you're gonna do is take a little wire tie like this and just run it through. I'm using the neon green so you can see them. Doesn't really matter. That just happened to be what I have, and it's easier to see them. But you're just putting the 2 clamshells together with a couple wire ties. Really a no-brainer. And just trim off the extra and you're done.